Yeah, and again, I emphasize what you just emphasized. We don't know any of the full details of this. That we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about this. But following up what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
Joining us now is Jack Houghton, host of the media show here at Sky News. Jack, thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with MSNBC and other left-wing outlets' coverage of Charlie Kirk's assassination. MSNBC has been forced to apologise because of its coverage of Charlie Kirk's assassination. We'll read you the statement that has been put out from Rebecca Kutler. It says, during our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk, Matthew Dowd made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive and unacceptable. We apologise for his statements, as has he. There is no place for violence in America, political or otherwise. And let's just take a look at why MSNBC was forced to apologise. Look at this.
Talk to me about the environment in which a shooting like this happens.
Yeah, and again, I emphasize what you just emphasized. We don't know any of the full details of this. That we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about this. But following up what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
Jack, it is just disgusting. They couldn't wait a day before they start trashing Charlie Kirk, saying his comments were divisive, that hateful speech led to this. What do you make of this?
It's some of the most despicable media coverage I think I've ever seen. A man, a father of two, he's murdered. These comments are made as he's dying. He wasn't yet declared dead at this point. And so rather than just reporting the mechanics of what's happened, rather than saying, at this point, he was shot in the neck with precision, by the way. So this whole notion that it could have somewhat been an accident by a supporter, to put that inference out there before you actually know what's happening is absolutely disgusting. But then to think, okay, the appropriate way to cover this story, this huge story, is to place some kind of characterization around him from a moral point of view is absolutely despicable. Now, to say that it is hate speech to take some of his positions, I think is just absolutely appalling, because you've got in America, it appears to be one of the only countries in the world where if you oppose illegal immigration at the levels that they are experiencing, you're somewhat of an extremist. In Australia, left-wing parties and more conservative parties are in complete agreement that borders should be protected. No serious country adopts a policy that their borders shouldn't be protected. But we have news outlets who are supposed, they think that they're mainstream. I think that they're now on the fringe, and this is why people are moving towards more independent voices, because there is more integrity now. But you've got these people who are characterising that, of protecting your borders of a sovereign nation, as somewhat of an extremist viewpoint. Now, to say, I think the quote was, hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. Now, think about that. That is a very deliberate argument that that action was somewhat justified or deserved, or simply it's his own fault for having hateful rhetoric. I don't even accept that it is hateful rhetoric to suggest that there is a crime problem. But for a journalist or a commentator to put that viewpoint out there, I think is appalling. And I don't accept their apology. I don't think Americans should. And I think that they should face some kind of congressional inquiry for why they are heightening the temperature in America. And it's leading to multiple assassination attempts on conservatives.
Really well said, Jack. It's just absolutely disgusting. And you know what? I wish that was the only horrific statement that was made. It gets worse. Here's more coverage from MSNBC.
Charlie Kirk is a divisive figure, polarizing, lightning rod, whatever term you want to use. Why?
Well, he's one of MAGA's most prominent voices online. He hosts a near daily podcast. He opines on almost everything. He's been very closely aligned with the president since his initial run for office in 2015, 2016. And his ties to Trump really elevated his own brand. He was really quite young as an activist when the president launched his initial campaign, and he has kind of ridden along with MAGA.
Again, divisive figure. I mean, how on earth is that okay when someone, as you say, a husband, a father, has just been killed and he was loved by so many people, and we saw him, of course, lose his life doing what he loved, fighting for America, and made such a positive impact on so many people. He reached people right around the world. We're feeling it here in Australia. But those comments, divisive figure, I mean, he was someone that of course was happy to debate controversial issues. He didn't shy away from that. But I just do not accept that kind of language to describe Charlie Kirk on the day that he died. You know, you made the point about how he was fiercely debating strong borders, a policy we have here in Australia. It's not something that's really even that controversial.